This is the Financial Beat, helping you hit all the right notes in your financial plan. So sit back as we strike up the band. The Financial Beat with Logan Sadler starts now.
Welcome to another edition of the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler, Vice President and Chief Investment Officer at Regari Financial. We're going to talk about getting you to and through retirement. Certainly that is an attractive topic. A lot of people like to think about retirement and what they're going to do after they retire, but we're going to delve into all those questions here today on the show. As always, my name is Ron Stutz. It is always a pleasure to hang out with Logan Sadler. And Logan, I trust that you've had a great week.
Yeah, I have. I've been doing great, had a lot of great weeks, and hopefully you and the listeners have as well.
Well, let me tell you how you can get in touch with Logan Sadler. You want to ask him about his week or ask him about, taxes on down the road or, inflation, whatever is on your mind, 888-823-PLAN. That is your number to call to get a discovery meeting going. And by that, I mean you get a chance to get to know Logan a little bit. He gets to know you, and you can decide later on if you'd like to work together. It's not going to cost you anything to have this exploratory conversation. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to make it happen. And we'll get into that number again a little bit later on and tell you how all that will work. But let's just launch right into the show today and talk about changing advisors. A lot of people listening to the show today may have an advisor already. Of course, a lot of people don't. But, we want you to check out Logan Sadler and see if you'd like to work with him. Some people often have an emotional or sentimental connection to their financial advisor. And, Logan, I know that, you've seen a lot of cases like this. Do you find that this sometimes makes it difficult for them to make a change, even when they recognize that they really ought to?
Yeah, it definitely can, right? And I always tell people the ideal relationship, and in my opinion, and what most people tell me what they're looking for, is a lot of people want that, close connection, right? You want not that, because the advisor should know a lot of very detailed and intimate things about your financial world, and a lot of times about your personal life too, right? So it can be a very emotional connection, and sometimes sometimes a lot of people have a very positive connection with their advisor. But they get to a point where maybe that advisor is not necessarily in the best fit for them at this point. But, it's one of those things where I do see sometimes that does make a harder decision for them if they decide they do need to move on at this stage.
Well, you talk about being at this particular stage, at this point in your life. I mean, the needs change. As you get older, you may, you need to make some adjustments in your planning and everything else. And that's a really good reason to check out other opportunities.
Yeah, it's true. And I think, especially the phase that we specialize in, which is retirement planning, a lot of our clients, like we always talk about, are approaching retirement. They're 50, 55 years old, 60, 65. They're kind of in that range, maybe some of them even 70. And they're looking for ways to maximize their retirement. And they're looking for ways to get a comprehensive plan together to know exactly what they should be spending or what they can spend, looking at tax impacts. Like we call it the 5 pillars of retirement, right? The income planning, investment planning, tax planning, healthcare, and legacy planning as well, right? So when you look at that, a lot of advisors mainly just do stocks or bonds, right? You come in, they say, hey, here's a good portfolio, and they might do a really good job of managing that. It might grow, how the client has expected, or it might be very nicely managed, but they might not offer a whole lot of those other services, right? They might just manage accounts. And when you're getting closer to retirement, a lot more people are looking for more in-depth plans, right? I mean, I've had a lot of clients that have been coming on board over the last few years, especially where they're just looking for a little bit more. And it's nothing their advisor did bad, but it's just really where they're like, you know what? I'm looking for somebody to show me. And when I look at their plan and I'm able to put together like, hey, here's what would happen if you retired this year versus next year. Here could be the benefits of it. Here's when I would take Social Security. Here's the numbers to show you when would be the best time to take Social Security. And really being able to advise and do all that, as well as looking into the investment side, maybe getting more focus for retirement of a portfolio, more for generating income and things like that. So I think when you're able to really sit down with that client and show them, hey, here's what we specialize in, here's what we're going to do for you, and here's how it's going to work, and show you kind of a visual, like we call it, that retirement roadmap, to show you what the next 10, 15, or 20 years is going to look like. That's what a lot of people are coming on board with our firm, is because we're able to show them what things could potentially look like, what the best case scenarios would be, what taxes could look like, if any types of tax strategies might be a benefit or to look at, and also loop in a CPA if we need to, or an estate planning attorney if we need to get a lot of those things executed in the retirement plan. So I think that's where you'll see some clients, Ron, where they'll just be like, you know what, it's probably a better time for me at this point to maybe look at a different situation.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. How does somebody really know when they need to make a change? And as you mentioned earlier, it's usually not a situation where the current advisor they have has done something wrong, or certainly not blatantly wrong that makes it obvious. How can you tell?
Yeah, I mean, very, very few of our clients, to be honest, I would say, come on board because of like maybe lack of returns, or like, hey, my advisor's returns haven't been great, or he messed up, or she messed up, and most of the time it's not that. Like you said, Ron, I think most of the time it's just people are looking for something that maybe they need a little bit more help in, or more guidance, and are looking for a little bit more of a comprehensive financial planner that, again, specializes in their ideal situation. There's advisors out there all over. Like I always tell people, I think we're a really great advisory firm. I think we do a great job of serving the clients and making sure that we're putting their needs first and really building out a plan. And I always say I'm not the only one in the world that does that, right? I'm not big-headed enough to think that. And I know there's a lot of great advisors out there, but a lot of advisors specialize in different things. I know advisors all across the country, they specialize in divorces, or they specialize in, younger people starting to generate some growth or getting plans started. And they do a great job at that. And our specialty is retirement planning. And so I think that is typically when most of our clients are coming on board, because their current advisor might not offer the services or the tools they might need to get into that next phase. And I don't necessarily mean just managing investments. I also mean all the other complexities and components that they might need to implement into their plan.
Well, maybe there's somebody out there who has an advisor who is, he's been with for a long time, and maybe the advisor is 70 years old and getting ready to retire. and Logan Sadler is old enough to have a lot of experience and to have experienced a lot of these different scenarios, but also young enough he's going to be around for a long time. So, that might be another reason. So,
yeah, it's true. It's funny you said that, Ron, because I've actually been told that quite a bit. Like I said, I'm young enough to where I'll be around a while, but old enough where I have quite a bit of experience, and have helped a lot of people. And we manage a lot of clients. We have a significant amount of money that we manage here at our firm and help a lot of people through retirement. But it's funny because a lot of people have decided to come on board with our firm and our team because we have a long history, and we also have a good track record. But also, they know that I'm going to be around a while, right? So I've had some clients where maybe they're 65 years old and they're doing a financial plan and they're interviewing with their advisor, or maybe interviewing new advisors, and their advisor maybe is the same age as them. And they're like, well, if I'm planning a retirement, he might be too, right? So it's funny you brought that up.
You're listening to the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler. And again, the number to call if you'd like to get in touch with Rigari Financial, 888-823-PLAN, 888-823-PLAN. We're talking about changing financial advisors and different reasons to do that. But Logan, are there some questions that somebody can ask their current advisor to help clarify if that advisor is no longer a good fit for them?
Yeah, there is. It's funny. We actually have if you want it, we probably can get it to you. We have one of the things in our folders where it actually gives you some questions you should be asking advisors, or if you're considering an advisor. And a lot of it is like, hey, what does your typical client look like? What is your client? What is your average client you have? Maybe net worth. A lot of clients want to know, hey, if I have $3 or $4 million, are you used to handling a client with that amount of money, or is your average client, $50,000? And some clients that have $50,000 want to know that they have an advisor that's going to value them and make sure they specialize in somebody that has $50,000, right? So you want to make sure you understand what their ideal client looks like. What age is their average client? Is it their average client 40 years old and you're 70? Might not be the best fit, right? So I think it's important to kind of ask those questions, as well as, how often am I going to hear from you? What is our relationship going to be like? Are we going to review every year, every 5 years, or are we going to review every quarter? What is that going to look like? and what services do you guys offer to help me in the phase of life I'm in, right? Whether it's retirement or whatever phase you're in, that's important. And I also feel like going back to the investment side, understanding what are they licensed to utilize, right? So are they insurance only? Do they only use insurance products? Because if you're looking for a comprehensive plan, that might not be the best fit, right? Because you're probably wanting some money in the markets and things like that. As well as if they're only investment licensed. Maybe they only do stocks and bonds. Maybe they don't use any insurance products. If you're somebody looking for some secure income or some alternatives and things like that in the insurance world, it might not be the best fit. You might want someone that's duly licensed. So I think those are some great starting points to find out, hey, what type of clients do you guys serve? How long have you guys been around? What's your clients typically look like? And, what type of licenses do you have and what type of tools are you able to use in the financial plan? And I think the next most important thing is making sure when you're interviewing advisors or your current advisor, having a good relationship. I always tell clients, I don't ever want to be like, man, I got to call this client. I don't like talking to him or her, right? And I don't ever want clients to say, oh man, I got to call that guy Logan. I can't stand talking to him, right? So it's a small world, but there's a lot of people out there, and you want to make sure when you're finding an advisor, you're a good fit. You enjoy talking to them. They explain things, he or she explains things the way you understand. And I think that's some of the main points when looking at what is the right fit for you and when you're interviewing an advisor. And that's why we have our discovery meeting, Ron, where you're able to come in, sit down, and really we spend about an hour to an hour and a half sometimes just going over your situation. I'll explain some of our value we could add to you and really kind of go over your situation, just broad scope, and just tell you a little bit more about our firm and our process, and just to see if we're a good fit to be the team to help transition you to and through retirement.
Well, if you are in that particular situation, if you are looking for someone new, you want to get a different outlook and check out all the aspects of a good financial advisor and what that advisor can do for you, call this number, 888-823-PLAN, 888-823-PLAN. Logan said this a moment ago. It's really all about relationships, somebody you're comfortable with, someone you enjoy talking to. And Logan Sadler is all about that. Having good relationships with your clients, certainly important. And on the other end of that, having a good relationship with your financial advisor is certainly important. You got to work together. 888-823-PLAN. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to get a conversation going with Logan Sadler. We call it a discovery meeting. It's free. There is no obligation whatsoever. So call that number now, and you can arrange to have a Zoom conversation or perhaps an in-office visit at Regary Financial, Hemet and Redlands, the two offices. 888-823-PLAN. That's your number to call to get started. I'm Ron Stutz along with Logan Sadler. There's more coming up on the other side of this timeout.
Are you worried about how taxes might impact your retirement savings? Don't let taxes derail your financial future. Download Logan Sadler's 2023 Guide to Tax Planning and learn how to optimize your Social Security, retirement savings, and investments. With expert advice, the latest tax laws, and strategies for tax optimization, you'll be on the path to maximizing your retirement savings. Just text the word ADVICE to the number 21000 and start taking control of your financial future. Just text ADVICE to 21000 and download your free copy of the 2023 edition Guide to Tax Planning.
What is your name?
I'm Arthur, King of the Britons.
What is your quest?
To get retirement ready.
What is the PE ratio on your portfolio's top grossing products?
I don't know that.
Don't get blown to bits by complex jargon. Let Logan help you over the bridge to a meaningful retirement.
We're back now with more of the Financial Beat. Ladies and gentlemen, Logan Sadler is on the radio, and go tell everybody you know. Maybe you know someone out there who might need some advice or may need to meet a new advisor. I would suggest you give Logan a call and make your own decision, or if it's a friend calling, they can make their own decision. But first, have a conversation with Logan. Basically the same guy you hear on the radio show here. It's going to be a friendly conversation. He's a likable guy, I promise. And again, when you talk to Logan, there's no obligation. It's not going to cost you anything, so why not check him out? 888-823-PLAN. You want analysis based on the truth and not assumptions? 888-823-PLAN. Logan Sadler, Regary Financial, Southern California. Hey, there are people out there who lie to themselves all the time. I mean, sometimes we all do it. But let's explore some of the financial lies that people sometimes tell themselves. Some people say, I'll pay back the money I've taken out of savings, or maybe they borrowed from their 401k, and they tell themselves they're going to pay it back, and they never get around to doing that. That's a lie that can get you in trouble right there.
It is, right? And it's one of those where a lot of us out there might be guilty of that one, right? Where I'll just dip into the piggy bank a little bit, and I'll pay it back, right? And then life gets busy, stuff happens, and that ends up slipping to the back of your mind, right? I've seen it a lot on the 401k side, where I've had clients where they're getting ready to retire, and you can do rollovers, you can move money out of your 401k to an IRA, and typically get a little bit better of customization, and for your upcoming strategy of retirement or whatever case you're going into. And I'll see it a lot where all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you have a $500,000 401k. Mrs. Jones, were you aware there was like a $40,000 loan on the 401k, right? And they're like, oh, yeah, I took that a while back and I was going to pay it off, right? And now you're in a situation where you typically can't roll over all of the money without finishing that loan off, right? Or getting taxed on it. So there's some implications there. And I've seen it time and time again. And I think what the point of that is a lot of them had intentions of paying that off, right? Or doing it a lot quicker. Sure. And life gets busy, right? And so it is one of those lies we kind of tell ourselves. Now, some of you out there, I'm not accusing you, because some of you guys out there are very good at, if you have to borrow some money or do this or that, you pay it off rather quickly, or you have a plan put in place. But a lot of us out there do it just because it's easy. And it's easier than the other decision of not doing that purchase or not doing whatever we were going to do. But making sure you understand the impacts of those are very, very big. And don't lie to yourself. You know yourself better than you might think, and really dig deeper and making sure if that's a good financial decision or not.
There's some people out there who, are negative about things, and, they may see the glass half empty instead of half full. And I'm wondering if you've ever had anybody say to you, Logan, why bother with investing? Why bother with all this stuff? Because it's just rigged against a little guy.
Yeah, it's easy to have that mentality, right? And I see a lot of people out there with that mentality, because it might feel that way, right? You have these big corporations with millions or billions of dollars, and it might seem like, hey, how do if I'm adding $400 a month to my 401k or to an investment, how I'm just a little guy, what is it going to matter to me, right? And I'll say that couldn't be further from the truth, right? I think the American dream is still very, very much alive in that aspect, where I meet with people every day that they're a construction worker, a contractor, a nurse, a doctor, maybe they work at Edison or Costco, and they've put away money, and they were never made, maybe they made decent money at certain years, but it's not like they made millions of dollars a year or anything like that. And they'll retire, and they have put away $100 a month, $500 a month, whatever the amount was. And they end up retiring, and they have $500,000 in their 401k. Mm-hmm. They have $1 million in their 401k. And you look back and you go, man, that thing averaged, 5% or 10% or whatever type of risk you were taking. It had a good return, right? And so I think it's super important to understand the value of compound interest. And I think the problem is a lot of people think it's a quick overnight success, right? All of a sudden, you're going to put money in there, and that switch flips, and you're going to just start making money overnight. And that's not typically how it works. Typically, it's slow and steady, and that typically is how a lot of these, I call them the millionaire next door, right? I have a lot of clients where they pass away, and their kids are shocked that, what do you mean mom and dad had $1 million put away for retirement, right? They never let us, we didn't even go out to eat, right? And so it's one of those things where you'll be surprised of how the little guy can still win, and understanding just kind of how investing works, and the education behind it, I think, is the most important part to start with.
There are some folks, with all the volatility that we've experienced here in the last couple of years especially, I'm sure that you've had some people say to you, the bank is the safest place to keep my money right now. And, this person is lying to himself for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, I hate generalizing, right? Because it's like, well, not all banks are bad, or not. That doesn't mean that, right? Because there's definitely some banks out there that have some very solid ratings, been around for decades and decades, and they're probably a good spot to keep money, right? I'll say putting it under your mattress probably isn't the best spot either. A lot of you listening were thinking that, right? But I think it's important to understand how much should I keep in the banks, right? Because you could look at other investments that might have higher safety ratings or might be a better spot to keep money. and understand that, all of your money in the bank might not be the best spot for all of it. And just kind of understanding how your bank works, I think, is super important. And understanding that, again, there's other things out there you could utilize to put money in that might be a little bit safer. Again, there's like treasuries. There's all these different types of things you could put money into that might be a good spot to park it, just depending on what your goals are.
You're listening to the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler. We're talking about lies that we tell ourselves. 888-823-PLAN. Call that number. You can arrange a conversation with Logan Sadler. That is no lie. 888-823-PLAN. I'll give you that number again coming up in just a few minutes here. There are some folks out there who lie to themselves and say, I'm going to rely on Social Security, and that'll be fine. That's not going to give you a very let's say, lavish lifestyle, for sure.
No, I've yet to meet anybody. I don't normally say that, right? But I've yet to meet anybody that's came in and said, man, you know what? Me and my wife have Social Security, and we're living our ideal retirement, right? Yeah. We're doing everything we ever wanted to do. I've never heard that. I have heard some people that have Social Security and say we're able to get by. That's typically kind of how that verbiage works. Yeah. It's a good start for a retirement plan. For a lot of people, it's one of the significant retirement income sources, right? It's a large portion of your retirement income. But the people that typically have the most successful retirement or enjoy retirement the most probably have other sources of income, like a pension or rental income or money from a 401k that they're going to receive some income off of, or annuity payments or something else, right? So I think it's important to understand Social Security is a great start to the retirement plan, but for most of you out there, it's not going to be enough in your retirement. So saving whatever bit of money you can throughout your working career, or having a job with benefits like a pension or something like that, is still going to be one of the best ways to help supplement that retirement income to where you can enjoy retirement, because most of you guys don't envision that retirement sitting at home on the couch not being able to do things, right? So understanding kind of how that works is so important.
Sitting at home on the couch eating tuna fish out of a can, that's pretty much.
I've had clients say, I don't want to eat dog food when I retire, right? That's a bad analogy, because nobody wants to eat dog food, but I get what they're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, on the other hand here, I know that there are some people out there who, they want to buy a new car, or they want to go on this vacation or whatever, and, they spend a lot of money all the time, and they don't save, and they justify it all to themselves by saying, YOLO, you only live once. Might as well spend the money now, and that can get you in a whole lot of trouble too.
It can, right? I mean, I always say everyone loves that person, right? Because they're living life, right? And they're really enjoying things. But the problem is, like you said, there needs to be a balance, because if you're not thinking about the future, I've seen clients like, you know what? Mom and dad passed away early. I got no chance of living very long. I'll probably pass away in my 50s, so I'm going to enjoy it. I make a lot of money. I'm going to enjoy it. Well, next thing you know, they're 65 years old, and they go, well, I didn't die, right? I'm still alive. I've got to do everything I've wanted to do, but now I can't retire, right? Or my other friends retired early, or their income, they're able to still do things in retirement. I can't do anything anymore, right? So it's one of those things, we're having a balance, because I'm one of those believers that we have no idea what tomorrow holds, right? Tomorrow could be any of our last days, right? So you want to enjoy life, but you also want to plan for the future, right? You don't want to plan so much for the now that you ignore what could happen down the road, because again, retirement when you're older might be a position where you say, I'll just keep working forever. Who cares? Well, a lot of people, actually the majority of people, are actually forced into retirement, right? Whether it's a health or a family health concern or whatever it might be, a lot of people are retired before they're ready. And so I think knowing that that's a reality, and understanding that you got to save for the future, and making sure you're not crippling your future by just enjoying the now.
May not be completely under your control when you decide to stop working,
Don't you hate that, Ron, right? There's so much in life we just don't have control over.
Exactly. And, there's so many people who get laid off a couple of years away from retirement, whatever. Just need to be prepared, that's for sure. Logan, I know a lot of these people that we talked about here see themselves. They may be listening to the show today, and they see themselves in this particular situation. What do you suggest to them? That they get in touch with you and come in and talk about all these things. How is that conversation going to go?
Yeah, the best part about our discovery process, and why a lot of people come in for it, is because, or via Zoom, we do a lot of Zooms, is because we really do a good job, we feel, of really understanding what your situation is, right? And I always tell people, whether you decide to come on board with our firm or not, I guarantee you'll get some value away from it, right? Where we're able to shed some light on maybe a question or a concern you had. And a lot of our people that are coming in for these discovery meetings, because again, our specialty really is more for those of you out there that are approaching retirement. Maybe you're over the age of 50, 55 years old, maybe even 65 years old, and you're looking for someone to help you put those pieces together, right? You have 401ks, IRAs, Social Security, you got Medicare to look at. You have what is our tax situation going to look like, as well as, what type of income is reasonable to draw and how long could I maybe draw it for, right? And so helping someone put together all those pieces, and that's really where our team specializes in, is helping you get to and through retirement by putting together a well-constructed plan that gives you the confidence to spend and enjoy your retirement.
888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-PLAN. Your number to call to arrange a conversation with Logan Sadler to talk about your individual scenario. It's not going to cost you anything and not going to carry with it any kind of obligation. Why not call right now, 888-823-PLAN. Give Logan your name, your phone number. You'll get a call back from the good folks at Regary Financial. And Logan mentioned earlier, he's got an outstanding team there. It's not just him, but a wonderful group of folks who are ready, willing, and able to help you get to and through retirement. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call right now to make that happen. You can arrange a discovery meeting, a Zoom conversation, or a visit in one of the offices, either Hemet or Redlands. Your choice. Not going to cost you anything at all and not going to carry with it any kind of obligation. Call that number today, 888-823-PLAN, and get started. I'm Ron Stutz along with Logan Sadler. You're listening to the Financial Beat, and the beat will go on right after this.
It's getting to know you time.
We talk about a lot of interesting things on this show, and one of the things that we have discussed from time to time is what's on your bucket list. What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve in your life? And Logan, I'm going to turn it on you here. What is on your bucket list that you have not yet achieved?
What's funny is I thought about traveling first thing when I thought about this. Yeah. And it's funny because I loved people that, either know me or listen to the show a lot. I love to hike. I love the outdoors. I love golf. I love surfing. I love the ocean, right? Yeah. And so what's funny is I've been to a lot of places. I've been very blessed to do a lot of fun traveling. I've never been to Hawaii. Yeah. Right, and everything I just mentioned is basically like Hawaii in a nutshell from what I hear. So it's funny, that's I actually had a trip planned in 2020, and we all know everything got kind of canceled then, so we have not rescheduled, and I've just never been. And so it's one of those places I'm just dying to go to because it sounds like it's got a little bit of everything I love, and so I kind of turned that over to traveling, Ron.
Folks, one of these days, Logan Sadler is going to star in the new edition of Hawaii Five-0, he's or Magnum PI or whatever the case may be. You got a pretty well-rounded background as far as your traveling is concerned, but that's a good one. A lot of people have that aspiration. They want to go to Hawaii at some point.
Yeah, I'd love it. A lot of people say Italy or, a lot of these cool places, which those all sound great. But yeah Hawaii just kind of sounds like the mecca for everything I like to do. Again, could be a total, letdown when I get there, or it could be everything I ever wanted. Who knows?
You're listening to the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler, and that's on his bucket list. What's on yours? We'll be back in just a moment.
Do you ever find yourself skipping through countless songs trying to find the perfect one? Yeah, we've been there too, and know it can be frustrating. Much like skipping through the countless advertisements from other financial advisors, it can seem like there's so much misinformation. But here on the Financial Beat, you can rest assured we're providing you with the best information possible. So don't push skip on this show, because we have some important information coming up.
Welcome back to more of the Financial Beat. Logan Sadler is on the radio. Go tell everybody you know. And Logan, of course, has this radio show every single week, and we certainly appreciate your listening. But there are other ways you can learn from Logan Sadler and get to know him a little bit, and that is by checking out his multitude of YouTube videos that are available. And also there are podcasts. You can go and listen to old shows perhaps you missed. Logan, how do folks get to those YouTube videos?
Yeah, you just simply head over to YouTube. And again, it's pretty popular nowadays, right? So you just head over to YouTube, type in The Financial Beat with Logan Sadler. It'll bring you right there to our page. And you can click subscribe, follow along, and kind of browse through because there's quite a few videos. I know a lot of you guys have been checking out some of the videos like, should I consolidate multiple IRA accounts? Retiring early? How can I retire before age 60? A lot of these different videos. So head over there, check them out, click subscribe, and also leave a like or a comment and let me know some of the other videos you might want us to do in the future because, again, the whole point of that channel is just to bring some value and some education, some tips and tricks, we call it, to your financial situation.
Yeah, and one other thing, how about podcasts? How do folks listen to some of these old shows?
Yeah, so a lot of you guys out there like listen to the show format. Maybe you're driving around or at the gym or whatever the case is. You can head over to podcast, type in The Financial Beat, whether that's on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, or you could simply even head to our website, and they're on there as well, where you could check out, again, I think there's like 115 episodes now that you could check out at your convenience with all that material in there, and all mine and Ron's talking and laughing. There's bound to be something in there that is going to pertain to your situation.
Yeah, there will be a lot of laughing in there. It's not going to be boring, I don't think.
We got to have a good time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, the decision-making process is really important and sometimes difficult for folks. Logan, when you see people who have a difficult time making financial decisions, what are the reasons that usually cause them to have so much trouble?
Typically, I would say fear, right? Fear of making the wrong decision.
Yeah.
And I think we're all guilty of that, right? Whether it's buying a car or doing something around the house or moving or whatever it is, taking a job. We've always had fear. I think fear is the number one thing we would come in there, and not just that we're scared of it, but also like, we're just trying to make sure it's the right decision, so we're overthinking it. Yeah. The other I would say that is complement to that is emotion. Right? A lot of the times we don't make decisions because there's been no emotional impact yet. So why make it? Or we make the decision because it's emotional. And so I think those are some of the two leading indicators there where people have a hard time making it. The third, I would say, Ron, is lack of education in that topic, right? And I don't mean lack of education because a lot of our clients are very, very smart and understand a lot, but maybe they're not making a financial move here or there because they don't feel as educated in that topic as they might want it to be.
Yeah, that's for sure. Hey, what are the dangers of not gathering enough information before you make a financial decision? And maybe this is a good opportunity for you to use an example of somebody that you worked with in the past, leaving out names, of course, but maybe we can learn from their experience.
Yeah, I mean, I've had that's kind of a hard one down because there's a lot of them, right? Yeah. There's a lot of people out there where I've worked with, and I'm trying to think of one of them where we didn't gather enough. So for example, I've had a lot of people I met with, like I'm trying to think of clients I met with in like 2021, or they weren't clients yet. Maybe they were kind of interviewing our firm. And again, a lot of you guys don't know, but we have kind of a 3-meeting process before we bring on a client, just because I want to make sure we're a good fit, making sure that you understand everything we're talking about, but also make sure I understand everything about your situation before just putting you in investment products or utilizing planning tools to make sure, again, it's the best fit for you. And so one of the clients we were meeting with at the time was not yet a client. We were going over their process, and they were extremely aggressive in the markets, right? I think their overall risk score, for those of you that don't know, we do a risk report for every client that comes on board, just to, again, not to tell you that risk is bad at all, just to kind of understand how much risk you have and if you're comfortable with it, just to make people aware. And we were going over their situation, and they were about a 78 on the risk score scale. For some of you out there, that's basically they were 100% in the market, right? They didn't have any money in bonds or cash or anything like that. And basically, they were more aggressive than just being in the S&P. And so looking at their investments, they were actually they weren't really that aggressive as far as their emotional standpoint, but their portfolio was reflecting the opposite, right? And I remember throughout our first meeting, I was talking about, well, what if we were able to scale back risk and utilize, some type of other investments or things like that might pull down risk a little bit and it might be a little bit more comfortable with their situation. Well, they were just at a point where they were like, well, we've been in this forever and we've always pretty much been comfortable with it. It's never really bothered us before. Unfortunately, now they were 65 years old, right? And all of a sudden, everyone knows what happened in 2022 is they went on a vacation here or there, right? And they wanted to think about our recommendations and things like that for a little while. So it ended up dragging out a few months. And unfortunately, we all know what pretty much happened the start of 2022 is we pretty much had a pretty consistent skid downwards, right? In the bond market and in stocks. And so their account went down around 23% at its lowest point.
Ouch.
And, for a lot of you out there, they had quite a bit of money in their accounts. So that was a pretty significant loss. And all of a sudden now they're like, well, now we need to make a decision, or now this needs to happen, or why didn't we do this quick enough, right? Because they didn't gather enough information ahead of time of what type of risk they were taking and really understanding the impact of it. And when that did happen, when that bear market did happen, it did unfortunately, show them that they were in something they weren't really comfortable with, and they didn't have enough information ahead of time of what that looked like. And so we were able to obviously get them the information they needed, able to put together a plan, and now they're a lot more comfortable with where they're at by implementing some small changes in the plan to, again, make it align more with their current risk profile, as well as where they were trying to get moving forward.
Well, these folks didn't gather enough information and, kind of put off making that decision. But on the other side of that coin, what are the dangers of gathering too much information before you make a financial decision? And again, maybe you can give us an example here.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of different things like that, right? Where maybe people were just, I've had some clients, and I'm that same way. A lot of clients go, man, 3 meetings. Why do we have to meet with you 3 times before I decide if I want to move forward? And I always say, because I think it's so important. Again, I take our job and our basically our liability very seriously. And I think it's something where I want to make sure I fully understand what your situation is, and then also making sure that you understand everything we're talking about. Again, you're not going to be probably an expert in everything, but you understand your plan and what we're utilizing these tools and what type of strategies we're implementing before we just go ahead and move forward. So I like to make sure, again, our clients know a lot about what they're doing and making sure we understand what we're implementing. So we don't typically run into that situation where clients are, oh, well, I didn't understand, right? No, we met 3 times. We went over it multiple times. You ask questions. So you have a lot of confidence in it. Now, with that said, I've had some clients where they've overthought things, right? They want to go 3, 4, or 5 meetings. And typically what happens is you have so much information, or I've had some clients where they've interviewed like 5 or 6 advisors, and they just have so much information in their head that they've overthought all of these scenarios, right? They gathered way too much information, and I'll tell you what happens majority of the time. They don't make a decision, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Ron, but have you ever went to look at a car and you looked at 45 cars in a day, or in a month, and then you go, I don't even know which one I liked, right? We could do that with everything. I've looked at shoes, for example. I remember, looking at different types of basketball shoes when I was playing. You try on 40 different pair of shoes, you can't remember which one you liked or didn't like.
Yep.
And so I think there is a little bit of an importance to not over-drown yourself in the information. Find a team that you trust, that you can communicate with, and you feel get you the information and the resources you need to make the informed decision, and make that informed decision. If you think about it forever, it's not suddenly just going to come to you.
A lot of times when you get all this information that you've gathered and, you can't make a decision, you suffer from paralysis by analysis. You end up not doing anything at all. So
Great point.
That's a dangerous thing. For the procrastinators out there, what are some tips to help them make a decision and go ahead and move forward with their lives?
That's kind of what I think I would wrap it in that same question there, Ron. A lot of you out there that are, might not maybe be a procrastinator or might just want to overanalyze things. I think it's so important to have the information you need to make the informed decision. I'm so a believer in that because I'm one of those people. I like to make sure I understand where I'm putting my money or where I'm investing or what type of decision we're making and what the pro and the con is of that. You'll hear me say that a million times on the show. And if you've already came in for your discovery meeting or a client listening, you've heard me say there's pros and cons to everything, right? And so I think just making sure you have that information, making sure you feel informed enough to make the decision, and making sure you understand the pros and the cons of making the decision or not making the decision, and then helping and having an advisor to help you there to make sure the full complexities of it or whatever you're looking at, and making sure you understand the positive impact and the negative impact of the portfolio or the plan or whatever decision it is, and then making sure you make the decision. Because the problem is if you don't do anything, in some cases it might be fine. In some cases it might drastically impact whatever that decision was. So you want to make sure, procrastination never really helps anybody in anything, right? So you want to make sure if you're one of those people where a situation's happening in your life, whether you're getting ready to retire, your spouse passed away, you're getting divorced, or you're just approaching a different phase in life, making sure you're making those informed decisions. You don't have to jump on it right away, but making sure you're making the informed decision in a timely manner that is going to really, help position you better for whatever phase of life you're heading into.
Procrastination is not your friend. 888-823-PLAN. Go ahead and make that phone call right now while you're thinking about it, while we're talking about it. 888-823-PLAN. That number is for Gary Financial with 2 convenient offices in Southern California, Redlands, Hemet, and wherever you are, go ahead and make that phone call. 888-823-7526. But the easy way to remember it is by using the word plan, because we all need a plan, right? You can have a conversation with Logan via Zoom, or maybe you might want to come into one of the offices, 888-823-PLAN. But the important thing is go ahead and gather all the information you can from Logan. And then go ahead and make a decision. Stop procrastinating, because that's so easy to do. You put it off. You say, I'm going to do it next week. I'm going to do it next month. I'm going to do it next year, and you somehow never get around to it. So many people fall into that category, and I have done the same thing myself. I'm the worst procrastinator. So do as I say do, but don't do as I do. Yeah. I think that's what I'm trying to say. 888-823-PLAN. Logan Sadler is on the show today. As always, the Financial Beat. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of feeling like taxes are draining your bank account? Do you want to keep more of your hard-earned money in your pocket? Then download Logan Sadler's 2023 Guide to Tax Planning. This guide is your key to tax optimization and is filled with expert advice, the latest tax laws, and strategies for reducing your tax burden. With the help of Gary Financial and Insurance, you can rest assured that you're making the most of your retirement savings. Just text the word ADVICE to the number 21000 and get the guide for free. Just text ADVICE to 21000.
This is the Financial Beat.
We are back now with more of the Financial Beat. I'm Ron Stutz. He's Logan Sadler. Always fun to do this show every single week. Logan Sadler works with 3 different generations of client families at Gary Financial. Many of those clients have been with his firm for more than a quarter of a century. And not only that, but they have great partnerships with local CPAs, attorneys, real estate agents, mortgage lenders, Medicare specialists, all things that are money related to help offer you well-rounded guidance in all things financial. And you can get it all right here by calling 888-823-PLAN. 888-823-PLAN. Get a discovery meeting. No cost, no obligation. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to make that happen. Let's go to the mailbag here, Logan. We have some good questions. First one is from Mary in Riverside. And Mary says, what's better, term life insurance, universal life, or whole life?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary, for writing in. And we haven't talked about that in a while, but I think any life insurance can be super valuable, right? I think it could obviously provide a lot of different benefits, and there's a lot more life insurance now. I'd say the last probably 10 or 15 years, it's gotten more and more common to use it as more of an investment type, where you're looking at more of like the universals or whole life insurance. And not that they've been around a long time, but I'd just say it's been probably more popular now than in a while. And I would say they're not for everybody, right? There's not one of these that's perfect for everybody. It really depends on what you're using it for. So I would say a quick breakdown, is term insurance is typically the best if you're young and healthy, or you're older and just looking for the most coverage you can get for the cheapest payment, right? That is always the best. Is for term, is for if you're looking for the most death benefit for the cheapest payment. Typically term is always the cheapest. Again, the term could be 10 years. 20 years, 15, 30 years, whatever time frame you're looking at. Typically, there's a term that fits that. And it's, again, typically one of the cheapest forms of life insurance that we could use sometimes for our younger clients that are looking for some coverage in their early years on a cheap budget, or for some of our clients that are older and need some life insurance to help maybe replace some income if they passed away for their spouses, or maybe even leave behind a legacy, but they're older and want a cheaper payment. That could be a good route to go. The universal and whole life, I typically say it takes a little bit more of a conversation, because it can be used as an investment, and it also does have life insurance wrapped up in it. And there's definitely some pros and cons to using that as the investment. A lot of the income that is taken out of that down the road, quote unquote, borrowing from it, you could actually take out tax-free. So it actually does have some huge advantages there. but you want to make sure it's something that you could afford and something that you could stick to, and making sure it's right for what you're trying to use it for. So I would love Mary to come in or give us a phone call or a Zoom. We could hop on it and kind of see a little bit more about your situation and try to help you pick what might be better for your situation between those types. Because again, life insurance can be used for many different reasons, and it definitely has some pros and some cons depending on what types you're going and what you're using it for.
Hey, Mary, thank you very much for the question, and follow up with a phone call. The number is 888-823-PLAN. Tony says, I ended up owing quite a bit in taxes for last year. I started doing some consulting on the side, and I got hit with what they're calling self-employment tax. Is it worth doing this work on the side if it's just going to make me pay more in taxes?
Yeah, no, great question, Tony. And you're not alone out there, right? I think a lot of us got our taxes done this year. Might not have been as happy as we normally are, right? But some of us might have been the same. But yeah, that's a great question. I always tell people one thing to realize about taxes is that means you're making money, right? And I hate that. I typically hate that saying, but it is true. In your case, if you still are making money and it's something you enjoy doing, why not continue to do it, right? I mean, if it's one of those things, again, if you're in a situation where you don't need the money, but you enjoy doing it, then yeah, I mean, obviously continue to do it. You're going to be owing a little bit more in taxes because you're probably making a little bit more money. And that's just important to understand your tax structure. And I think either talking with your CPA or giving us a call, we can kind of walk through what types of income you have coming in. Maybe you can lower in other areas, maybe investment income or whatever situations it is. But just being more aware of what types of income are coming in might be a good way to look at it. But also, like I have a lot of clients that do work in retirement, and, having a little extra income here or there is good. But yeah, you might have some extra taxes and things like that you have to pay on it. But as long as you're still making money in the end and it's something that's still benefiting you from a financial end, but also it's something you enjoy doing, I would say keep doing it as long as you want to.
Tony, you might want to follow this up with a sit-down conversation with Logan Sadler about all this. And again, that number for Gary Financial is 888-823-PLAN. Next question here is from April in Highland. And April says, my daughter and son-in-law are having a tough time finding a house in their price range now that interest rates have gone up. Boy, they've got a lot of company there.
They do.
I'm a little tempted to just cash out some investments, pay cash for a house for them, and then let them make mortgage payments to me. Do you think this would be a bad idea?
No, great question. I actually just had this conversation, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, with a client of ours. And it's one of those things where there's a lot more to unpack here, right? I think that's normally my answer, I know, but that's a really, a very vague, or it's a big question to ask and answer very vague. And I think one of the things I would look at, and some of the questions I would ask you, and I'll ask you right here, is basically, what does your overall situation look like? Is that something by cashing out your investments? What did the tax structure look like? Can you afford to make that adjustment to the portfolio tax-wise, but also income-wise and asset-wise? How does that make things look? The other is we've always heard you don't miss, business and family, right? That's the other atmosphere to look at. And I always tell people I hate saying that because it makes me think I'm judging your family when I don't even know them, right? You know your daughter better than I do. But I think it's one of those things where if something happened and they couldn't make the mortgage payment, how would that maybe affect the relationship, or how would that hurt your overall financial situation? But I have had clients that have done stuff like this, and I think it's very awesome to be able to do that for your kids, especially if it's a good situation for them and for you. I think it's kind of a win-win. But unfortunately, sometimes there's a little bit more to unpack there and look a little bit deeper into the situation than just a yes or a no in a lot of cases.
Okay. Good question, April. Thank you so much for getting in touch. And also, you might want to have a longer conversation with Logan about all this and get more specifics, more dollar amounts and all that kind of thing to help you make that decision. Wayne says, Logan, we have 2 kids. One will be graduating high school this year. The other is 1 year behind. We've done a pretty good job of saving money for college, but we're definitely not going to have enough to cover every penny. I could sell some mutual funds to help pay for it. We could have our kids take out loans to cover what we can't, or we could take out some loans ourselves. How do you advise people in this area? Yeah,
that's another, man, these are 3, again, great questions here. All of them a little bit different, but have some deeper answers, which is great.
Yep.
I think, awesome. I always tell people it is a great opportunity to be able to help your kids out if you're able to do the things that you want them to do that benefit them, right? Like in this case, education is awesome. Now, good job for saving some money, but you're not alone, right? A lot of people have saved money, but it's not necessarily enough to cover the cost of college or expenses nowadays because, as we know, those have gone up quite a bit. But I think there's a few different ways to look at it. Selling the mutual funds is obviously an option, but we want to look at tax structure. As always, we want to look at the impact, right? I mean, is it one of those things, can you really afford in your situation to sell those funds off? How would that affect your upcoming retirement, current retirement, or overall financial situation? I think that's always the first thing you got to look at is how does it affect you? And then there's also some pros and cons to the other things. I personally wouldn't recommend you taking out a loan yourself. I would look at what investments you have and things like that, like you were saying, and seeing if that is an option. But I have had some clients where they'll pay a lot of the college for their child, but they might make them take out a small loan to where they make them say, quote unquote, they have skin in the game type of thing, right? Where sometimes they'll have some of the kids take out a small loan in their name to help supplement to pay for it. But I think each of those you're looking at here are some good ideas, but I would really look at what is the impact on you guys if you did sell those mutual funds? Does it affect your retirement? Does it affect your financial situation? As well as, if what's the tax structure would look like, all that. But also, as far as what you're willing to pay, what would the payments be? I think we can crunch a lot of those numbers and kind of figure out the best solution. Because again, I have these conversations a lot with clients because it's a lot of the conversations nowadays are around retirement and college planning. So definitely not something I'm not a stranger to. But I would want to ask you a few more deeper questions to identify it. But I think I gave you some good things to kind of start brainstorming on.
Got another question here from Donna in San Bernardino. And Donna says, my husband has always been tight with money, but it's been even worse ever since he retired. He won't let us spend money on anything. Is there a way to fix this?
Is he permanently cheap, right? And what's funny is I'm kind of one of those people. Me and my wife are both kind of budgeters, so we both feel like guilty when we spend money that wasn't in the budget that month. She's an accountant, I'm a financial advisor, so I always say we don't stand a chance, right? But I would say that might be because maybe he doesn't have, or again, I'm just jumping ahead here, but maybe you're not sure exactly how much money you can spend, right? Maybe you don't have, it's amazing how many people retire and don't have what I call a written retirement plan. They don't understand, hey, how much if I drew out, how long would it last? What type of return would I need to keep that stable? And what is realistic? And a lot of the times that makes you kind of spend, we call it with no confidence, right? You're spending money and you're not sure if it's going to last. So what does that make you do? It makes you tighten up, right? It makes you not spend as much. And I think that's not always the best way to live retirement. You want to be able to spend and enjoy it with confidence and know that it's going to be there to last. So I would say definitely that might be a good way, Donna, to come in and let's go over the finances, see what the overall situation looks like. And again, he might be able to spend a little bit more money and loosen up with confidence, or that might just be how he's wired, right? Because a lot of us can be that way sometimes.
Yeah, that's for sure. Hey, you got time for one more question today, Logan?
Absolutely. I could do this all day.
Okay. Charlotte is in Rancho Cucamonga. Love saying that. It's great.
It's a fun
name.
one.
Yeah. Charlotte says, how does a Roth conversion work? Is this a strategy that I ought to be considering?
I would say, well, first off, what is a Roth conversion? So basically, for those of you out there that have money in an old 401k, let's say, right? Or you're over the age of 59 and a half. Let's say you have $100,000. Let's just use that as a money you have in a deferred 401k. And it's either an old one or you're over the age of 59 and a half. What you are eligible to do is you could do what's called a Roth conversion, meaning you could take money out of that 401k, pay taxes on it now, and convert it over to a Roth IRA. Now, what that would do is any money you converted over, you pay taxes now, right? So the whole bet is, and what you want to look at to see if it's worth it or not is, what is your potential future income and what are the tax brackets looking like down the road? And is it cheaper for you to convert it now at a potentially lower tax rate to grow that money tax-free when you might be in a higher or the same tax bracket, right? So that's kind of the components of it. And again, there's many complexities to decide if this is a good fit for you or not. I don't think they're for everybody. But I will say, Charlotte, we have a lot of our clients that are coming on board, and a lot of the clients we're working with where Roth conversions are a very big part of the strategy because we're able to convert at a potentially lower or equal tax bracket and now defer that money, but defer it tax-free until we're ready to withdraw to give us some tax diversification so it can have some huge impacts. I mean, I've seen, we always talk about like retirement success and things like that. We have a lot of programs we run where will show us kind of what a potential success rate might look like. And sometimes it jumps it huge by doing the Roth conversions because you're going to have more tax-free money down the road, which might be more money you could spend and not have to take out as much, right? Just an amount like our deferred money. So it could be a great way. Like I said, I've seen people save tens of thousands of dollars sometimes on Roth conversions, and it can really make an impact over the long course of the plan. It's not an immediate fix. It's a long-term play, and it's not for everybody, because I've seen some people where doing the Roth conversion, the math just doesn't work out, and you want to make sure it's in your best interest, and it really benefits the plan long-term. So I'd be happy to go through your situation and see, Charlotte, if it is one of those things that could make a big impact in your plan, and if so, dive further into how that would work.
Got a lot of great questions today from Charlotte and Donna and Mary. And, of course, a lot of other questions have come in, and maybe we'll save those for a future show. But if you'd like to have a conversation with Logan Sadler, here's the quick way to make it happen. Call 888-823-PLAN. That's 888-823-PLAN. That number is for Regary Financial. Been around for a long time. 2 convenient offices, one in Hemet, one in Redlands. You can have a conversation with Logan Sadler for free. No obligation involved at all. Or you can have a Zoom connection if you'd rather do that. Up to you. But again, cost-free, obligation-free. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to make that happen. And maybe you've been listening to the show for a long time. You've been checking out the YouTube videos. Maybe you've listened to a lot of shows with the podcasts that are available out there on whatever platform you use. But go ahead and make that phone call and have a one-on-one conversation face-to-face with Logan Sadler. One more time, that number, 888-823-PLAN. Hey, Logan, I want to say I've really enjoyed this show today. I feel as if you've helped a lot of folks out there, and that, of course, is the objective of this show.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole point here is obviously, you get to hang out and laugh and talk about some fun stuff for a while, but also the whole point of it is to bring some value and some education out there to you guys listening. And again, there's a lot going on always in the retirement planning space. Things are always changing and evolving, and so we appreciate you guys sticking around each week to hang out with us here on the show. And I already look forward to getting back together next week. And for those of you guys that have been calling in and the ones I've been meeting with, we appreciate the support. It's always great talking with the listeners out there, and appreciate the feedback on the show.
Join us again next time for the next edition of the Financial Beat with the one and only Logan Sadler.
Regary Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. and BD Financial Group, Inc. are separate and independent entities. The information provided in this presentation is presented for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, investment, tax, or legal advice, nor does it constitute an offer or solicitation to buy or sell any securities.